Hey everyone, welcome to story time again. We had a little bit of a kerfuffle. There was supposed to be a story going out yesterday and Wednesday came and went. So here you go, it's Thursday. It's going to be bedtime story today, so you get 2 days in a row, today and tomorrow. So it's not all that bad, is it? So we're going to continue with our Gospel Story Bible and then everything a child should know about God. So on this chilly day, snuggle down under your blanket, get yourself cozy and ready for our story. And today it's called God Provides Water and Food for Israel. Even though God performed many wonders to rescue his people from Egypt, they were quick to forget all that he had done, and even quicker to complain when there was a problem. When they were thirsty, they complained instead of asking the Lord for water. When they were hungry, they said terrible things to Moses, like, "You've brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." In spite of their grumbling, the Lord was kind to them and provided water for them to drink. He even gave them special bread from heaven called manna to eat each day. Every morning they gathered enough manna for 1 day. Any leftover bread would rot and get worms in it. But on the 6th day, God told them to gather a 2-day supply so that they could rest on the Sabbath day. God prevented the manna for the Sabbath from rotting and growing worms. Moses warned the people that when they grumbled, they were really grumbling against the Lord. But the people didn't listen. They forgot Moses' warning. After they moved from the place where God first brought the manna, they became thirsty again. Right away, they started quarrelling and complaining. They started saying bad things about Moses again and asked him, "Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children?" Moses cried out to the Lord for help. He told the Lord, "The people are almost ready to stone me." The Lord told Moses to take some of the elders of Israel to the rock at Horeb. You might remember that this is where God first spoke to Moses in the burning bush. This time God said, "I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water shall come out of it, and the people will drink." Moses did just as the Lord commanded, and, sure enough, water flowed from the rock, plenty for all of God's people and their animals. God could have punished the people for their grumbling because it was wrong. Instead, he told Moses to strike the rock right where the Lord himself stood, instead of judgment. The people received the blessing of water. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul tells us that the rock Moses struck is meant to remind us of Jesus. Instead of striking Israel for their sin, God struck the rock, which represented Jesus Christ. Even way back in the day of Moses, God knew that his salvation would come through the sacrifice of his son, Jesus. Through this story, God gave Israel a hint of how he was going to save his people. Instead of punishing us for our sin, God brought the rod of his judgment on Jesus at the cross. When God saved Israel and gave them water, he was looking ahead to the sacrifice of his son. When God saves us, he looks back to Jesus on the cross. Let's talk about it. Now look at the picture, and what is Moses doing? Where has the water come from? And why does God give water to the people instead of punishing them for complaining? Right, let's have a page from Everything a Child Should Know About God. Jesus leaves his home in heaven. Jesus is God's Son. He lived with his Father up in heaven. He looked down at the world and saw the people doing bad things. He knew God must punish them. But God didn't want to punish the people who did bad things. So Jesus and his Father agreed on a special plan. Jesus said, "I will go down to earth, and you must punish me instead of the people who sin. They deserve to die, but I will die instead." In this picture, Sarah's mum is pointing to heaven, where Jesus lived before he came to earth. And there's a question. Why did Jesus leave his home in heaven and live here on earth? Well, do you know why? It was because Jesus was going to die instead of us. He took our punishment for all of the bad things that we have done. Which means that we can be extra special friends with God. And because of that, we're able to pray to God. So let's do that now. And we are going to pray kind of the orange prayer. And I'm going to just change it a little bit. So join me and then do a big amen or a little one at the end with me. Dear God, please help us to be patient, to listen to you, and to be obedient, especially as we are still waiting for things to go totally back to normal. Please help us to keep safe, to follow instructions, to keep other people safe as well. And Lord, as we get closer and closer to the return to school, I pray that there would be excitement for everybody who's going back to school. I pray for excitement for anyone who is starting school or starting nursery for the very first time. I pray as new shoes are bought, new uniforms are bought, Lord, that you would be with them, that you would be with the mummies and daddies, and that everybody would be super excited for the adventure that is going to start very soon. We thank you, God, that you will be with everybody who is going to school next week. Amen. So as I say, a double dose back to back. Join me tomorrow for some more bedtime stories. So until then, night night, sleep tight, God bless, and see you tomorrow. Night night, everyone.